Well, hello and welcome to the wrap. This is the show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week. Racing, events, tech, fashion, you name it. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It's also a podcast that you can download. Just search the wrap and Zwift, and you should be able to find it anywhere that you do get your podcasts. And you can also find it over at ZwiftCommunityLive.com. They are uploaded pretty quickly after the live show. I'm Nathan Guerra. Anna Russel is sat next to me today. It is episode number 55. It's Thursday, August 3rd, 2023 in this part of the world. I believe it's August 4th over in Anna's part of the world. We're very, like our area centric. I always say that for 55 episodes, I have said that. And Anna has not actually called us out on that, interesting enough. Like, I don't think once have you said, it's not actually that date for me, Nathan. But anyways, today on the podcast, what are we going to be covering? Well, obviously, we'll be talking about what we have been up to. We were going to have a guest on today, Katey Bates, the Olympian. She had a last-minute cancellation, so we hope to have her on real soon. Katey Bates is absolutely awesome. But we're going to press on. We're going to be talking about the Zwift Grand Prix. Details have been released. The Zwift Racing League has been announced. And in about 40 minutes from now or so, we're going to be talking things about game release 1.45. Just so you know, we do have it looking to be rolling out really, really soon during the broadcast, actually. Also be talking a little bit about an interview that popped up with the Zmunicke with George from Indy Velo. So we'll do a couple of interesting points on that. And then obviously we've got our jersey pick with the World Championships and the Chasing Rainbows kit going, unlock happening. That's pretty exciting. A lot of things with Worlds. I was looking up last night all of the schedules so that I can watch, but let's get right on into the episode. If you're interacting with us, we are watching chat over on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, as well as I do see tweets if you at me. So go ahead and do that. Real quickly, what have we been up to for last week related to Zwift and cycling things?
I've actually got an exciting Zwift race story. I have not raced on Zwift in like a long time, right? But we've got our last Try and Z series. So we've got our last 6-week series, and my co-commentator is like in Samoa. So their internet connection isn't very good. My co-commentator is in Samoa on a holiday.
Samoa. Okay, Samoa.
And so he can't get an internet connection. I was like, I could either do this by myself, or actually I'm just going to race the first 2 races of a series that I've organized for like 4 years now, which I was kind of like, this could be good just to get like a feel for it, like what it's like to be a racer in that series. Oh my God, it was really fun. So I'm just going to I'm going to go into it, guys. Okay. So
we're getting a full inside look here. Here we go.
How much time do we have? But it was, so there were not too many A women, but the A women who come on are like in real life cyclists. So one of them was like 5th at the New Zealand Nationals this year. So good, really, really good. And I've been commentating on her for a while, and I'm actually going to try and recruit her for our team because she's not one of those. So she's a level 41 Zwifter. So she's obviously on there, but I was like, oh, maybe she just does workouts and stuff. But as I've been commentating on her races, I'm like, damn, she has got good tactics. Like, she is bringing whatever she knows from the road into the game. Like, it is just so good. Like, and she's amazing at sprinting, and I knew that. So it came to this point where we were like, 3 of us had broken away, and there was a girl in the group who just would keep riding a bit off the front, like keep putting in little attacks. And I'm with this girl, and I'm like, I'm just going to play chicken. Like, I'm going to sit on your wheel and see at what point you freak out and decide to close the gap. But the problem was she was doing the same with me. And, you could tell because we're riding at like 2 watts a kg. The gap was getting to like 10 seconds, 12 seconds. And this was happening multiple times. And then it would get to a point where she freaked out. But instead of like dragging up, she'd like just put in this effort at 8 watts a kg to like snap close it. I was like, oh my God, she like knows her shit, right? She knows what she's doing here. And so it was on.
Well, she's been watching your commentary for a long time, Anna. So
oh my gosh, it was amazing. So then, anyway, we're on Royal Pump Roommate, and I like just knew these places to dig in, right? So up Pop Bank Hill, I just like launch it, get a gap, and then look at what she's doing and try and hold it. So she has to work harder.
For those
than me
unfamiliar,
to
Pop
catch up.
Bank Hill is like, I
Oh.
think it is the sharpest gradient in all of Zwift. I'm not sure there is a sharper gradient. Maybe the end of Tourmalet now. But it's like a 22, 23% gradient, right?
And it's really, I ride at 100% trainer difficulty, and I actually got into real difficulty in Grand Prix on this because I think the hard thing with it is it's a downhill into it, but the hardest gradient's like halfway up. So you have the momentum and you're in a big gear, and then you like slam literally into a wall. And I like hit a circle of death literally in a Grand Prix race and couldn't pedal anymore. I was like, oh, that sucks. But anyway, didn't have that happen again. And yeah, and then oh my God, Nathan, you'll love it. So it came, I knew she was a better sprinter than me. And like you come down the hill when you're heading into Yorkshire, and then like you got that,
which is like a quarter mile. It's like a half K, like
so you've got
downhill for a while after a climb.
Yeah. So we dropped the other girl. So she was behind us after that pop bank. But then you've got that kind of like.
So you guys caught her and then you guys dropped her.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And I dropped this girl. So her name's Alex. I dropped her, but then she like slowly.
Don't say it too like with too much excitement.
Oh, this is so exciting.
She's
and
like,
then we get
the way
to like
your eyes went. I dropped her. Just so you know, I really did.
Yeah, I did. And then we get to like, that hill, and then it goes into that long downhill to the sprint after the left corner. And so like, I was like, I've got to go on this hill. So I go on the hill. We hard drop the girl behind. But then we hit the downhill, and the girl behind's catching again because she's really good at riding just like 4.2 watts. So she's just doing that. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do here? But I've got an aero. And I hit 400 meters to go. And I was like, I'm just launching my sprint early. Like I always make the mistake
with the speed is what you're thinking. Yeah, it's a good
call.
So it works sometimes.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll just whiplash around the corner. And then as soon as I get around the corner, I'll drop the aero so that it will hopefully catch.
Good tactic, especially with nobody with you, like only 2 other people. It's a great tactic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But her sprint's better. She's catching. We're at the line together. I beat her by 600th of a second.
This is
like oh my gosh.
And this was in the race that you organized too.
Yeah. I know. So I was like, champion, but she beat me on points. So who cares that I won on the line? But I cared. I was just like, this is freaking amazing. So I got my like little Zwift racing like bug back again.
That's so awesome. That sounds like a great tactical race, actually. And it really is I like that you opened with that, Anna, because ZRL just got announced. Zwift Grand Prix details went out to the teams. We got a little bit of cool insider information with all of them here to and like you bringing that excitement of tactics and how you play things out in a Zwift race, like great way to just start off to to kick this off, because I think everybody is pretty excited right away, right in chat, over at the Twitch chat, at the YouTube chat. There's people going, hey, super excited about ZRL, can't wait. And good to see. Hey, Andy, good to see Andy and Yale Gladstone saying they usually catch us on the podcast. Super excited to be here live. Good to have you here live as well. So, Anna, like that race course as well is one of the hardest ones, I think, in the entirety of Zwift. I think like you really are putting it to those people in your what's it called again? The series that you put on?
The Try and Z esports series.
Try and Z esports series, yeah. And it's not exactly is that a triathlon course? like is that usually what you guys experience, is extreme punchy climbs over and over again?
No, but we do experience attrition. That's I think what triathletes are good at. So it's always having. But I mean, Barney was out there racing, and he's just like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so he's a real good supporter of it. It's actually quite interesting. You'd like this, Nathan. So we had like our Try and Z like strategy kind of thing. Esport is like one of the top strategies that the board identified that to keep having this series, because it's a great way to like bring together the community over winter when triathlon's just not really happening, and keeps it kind of front of mind, So yeah, it's really cool that the board's quite supportive of that.
Using esports as an engagement tool for your community to keep them engaged in the sport throughout times that are not necessarily the highlight times of your outdoor endeavors. Sounds like an amazing marketing tool.
Exactly, right? And then,
well, no, that's great. Like, because it's more people doing the cycling thing. I'm all about it. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a bit easier than trying to, like, we did like an e-try, but it's still, you have to get people to one location, whereas this people can be in their own locations. So it's good. But next week we're doing like big loop. So that's going to be quite hard as well. I think that's like epic climb and volcano climb.
That's attrition. That's steady. That'll be a steady grind for sure, with like a look forward to the climbs. Sounds good. Sounds really good. So what have I been up to? I haven't been doing much Zwifting except for the Tourmalet. I did the Tourmalet last Friday. I had a big week last week. I did really big with intensity. So I had like a 23 or 24 hour week on the bike, and a ton of zone 2 with then like back end kicks. So essentially like train the zone 2, don't go out of that whole area of making sure that you're really good at fat utilization, and then at the end of the rides, it's like 3, 4, 5 hours of this zone 2 stuff, hit up like either sweet spot or straight up threshold work. And it's been going really, really well. The training, I don't know if I've ever been this fit. My fitness score on Strava, take it for whatever it might be, is 128 right now. I haven't ever seen 128. Like, I used to race at 99, 100. I'm not sure and that's always relative if you set your FTP correct or not too. And I don't know if my FTP was always set correctly or not, and like, I think it's more correct now than it has been in the past, et cetera, et cetera. But, but I was like, okay, I had to do, so it was late. It was Friday night. We had the kiddos. I was like, what are we going to do? And okay, well, Tourmalet's up and they're doing it on the TDFF. So I was like, well, we can watch the Femmes do it and I can race it, and let's do it. I was getting kind of excited about it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go do the portal.
I've got a question though.
Yeah.
How did your time compare to Cash's and Demi's time?
What did they do up it? I don't remember what they did. What did they do? What was their actual time?
I'd have to go look at Strava.
No, but I actually looked at the predictions, as well as Neo Adoma actually released her. She released it and then deleted it though. So Zach Neer actually just put out an article over on Velo. Go check it out. He did a really good article on a lot of the power profiles and the estimated power. So the Demis isn't public, but Cassia's was, and I believe Labousse actually released it publicly, and it's just sitting out there. So you can see those, and all of them are at the low 5s. They're all in the low 5s, 4.9 to like, but Demi was like a 5.5 or something.
Yeah,
like
she was
for the last
yeah.
half or something, like something crazy for the last half.
Yeah.
And I did 5.2 or 5.3, so she would have kicked my ass. Like,
wow. So it was interesting.
I'm like, holy crap, dude. And at elevation, I'm like, what? So my time was, I don't know, like a 48 something, and I took the KOM, but I don't think that's gonna last long. Like, I don't. If people, because like I was even saying it during. Oh, and the other thing, I put my mountain bike on. I used my mountain bike because I'm really
Zwift
focused.
Mountain bike.
No.
Zwift what?
No. I was on my mountain bike. And I am going to start training and racing probably on it, because I'm not kidding. The muscle, like, I used to say this in the past when I was racing super, super seriously, and I just never went back to doing it because it was a hassle, and I wasn't taking racing like, I was taking it seriously, but I wasn't like, I want to be the very, very top again. And like, I'm kind of getting that, like, I kind of really want to win. And so I put my mountain bike on, and instantly, I'm not kidding you, I got 10 extra watts outside. Like, and it's the crank length, it's the positioning, it's it just transfers over so much better. The positioning matters, the way that your muscles are moving matters, the way that you find at least for me, I find that my VO2s and my steady power outside are just feel so much more natural to all the gains I'm getting on the trainer right now, actually.
Nice.
So that's another thing I'm kind of doing right now with Zwift is like trying to find all the ways I can replicate for my racing outside as best as I can, even in positioning and what bike I'm using and all that stuff.
Okay, that's cool. So someone asked me like, how fast are these women going? And I was like, look, so the only equivalent I have is like, I've actually raced with Ashley Moolman Passio. Like she was on Team Roca Corba when we were racing like the ZRL playoffs. So she was on her team. I was like, that is the best ring-in you could ever get, like for that team, right? And we did the course where you went up Innsbruck, and I was like, Megan Rathwell, just stay with Ashley Moolman Passio as long as you possibly can. And she actually, though, did a Grand Prix race as well, or whatever it was called, Premier, that went up Epic Climb. So it was Ashley, then Kristen Kulczynski, and then Courtney Nelson, I think.
Mhm.
So we know Courtney Nelson and Kristen Kulczynski has been like the best like long hill climbers in Zwift at the time. I mean, KK is pretty good at sprinting and stuff now too. But Ashley was pretty well ahead. And then you look at the Tourmalet. I mean, I know Ashley said she had a bit of an off day, but I mean, Demi was minutes ahead of Ashley. So it's like
3 or 4, yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah.
I was like,
And she did all of that in the last
wow.
5K. All of that distance between her and the rest of the group was the last 5K,
Yeah.
which obviously she just had another gear. She had a whole another, and in the article Zach put out, definitely check. He says she had a full half watt per kilogram more to give in the last 5K than everybody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could see it, right? Because she's just chilling in the group. She was like breathing through her nose, being like, I'm out for a Sunday ride here. And so when she lit it up, it was like lit, right? She would have been like, so ready.
The coolest part was the fog. For me, one of the coolest part was all the fog. If you haven't watched this stage, there's so much fog out there. And it was like, it was an analogy. It was like a live analogy of what was happening. It was so symbolic of what was happening in front of you, is that like, she attacked and then someone's just trying to hang on. And as they're trying to hang on, it was almost like the Zwift like workout mode when things start going fuzzy and you start disappearing and like suddenly Van Vleuten is disappearing into the fog because you can like, and it was like representation of her suffering and sudden disappearance from all of the race at that moment of where the leadership was happening. And then like when Labousse was chasing, she could just see Ashley in the fog just ahead, and like the idea of like chasing your prize that isn't quite there yet. You can't quite see it, but if I can just get through the dimness and get to that light that's at the end here. I mean, that was so symbolic of like what was happening.
Unreal.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it was so good. And I do want to critique myself on the podcast last week where I was critiquing SD Works tactics, and all their tactics make sense when you look at the strength of Demi. Like if she, she obviously knew her own strength. And so I think some of the random things they're doing where I was like, they could have got her extra time. They could have got her this. I think she was pretty much like, guys, I'm good. Like, I know I'm going to be good in Tourmalet in the time trial. So let's go the team effort here. So some of those tactics kind of make sense to me a little bit more about what they were doing. And perhaps they were experimenting a little bit and like making a few little mistakes, but I think they had like the ace up their sleeve, right? So it just didn't really matter in the end.
Yeah. So, well, Tour de France Femmes, avec Zwift, it's over, but I feel like it's just running right on into Worlds now.
Oh my God.
The next thing, okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Zwift have done a really good job now, it feels like, especially this year, of, well, the community in Zwift alongside of Zwift have done a really good job together to I feel like it's kind of like helped me ride along. And in the past, I almost cringed at that like language because I felt like, yeah, whatever, that's just a marketing thing. But I actually feel like my interactions with Zwift now have created a community hub water cooler space where I'm riding and doing things that then also kind of somehow directly interact and have me watching World Tour. And I from Chasing Tour and the Sisu Tour with the classics, and then we moved into there's not moved into Giro with Chasing Tour as well. There could be a little bit more with that from the Zwift side, since it is world. It is like a grand tour, but and then the whole thing with the Tour de France through with also Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, and then now moving into Worlds and having that too. And then we jump into the Zwift season. It's kind of like, it feels like it's very, it's getting somewhat seamless to fit somewhere and feel like you're a part of the whole thing still as a participant.
Yep. And I think, like, if I think about all the deep conversations I've had around the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, it's been with my Zwift crew. Like, it's been on my Discord chats. It's been when I've gone and done the Canyon SRAM ride to unlock the kit. I mean, those rides were well attended. And awesome. I was a little bit gutted because, like, I thought I was going to get, like, this Canyon SRAM kit and then no one else would have it. And now I've done like a couple of rides and I'm like, there's like 5 other people in this group ride with the same kit. And I'm like, damn, it's not going to be as exclusive as I was like kind of hoping. I was like hoping I'd ride along and people would be like, oh my gosh, are you on the Canyon SRAM team? I'd be like, yeah. But I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, it's kind of created this like ecosystem of people talking about it. Like this ride we were doing, it was literally like, all we were talking about was the Tour de France Femmes and the tactics and who was going to win. And like out of the Tour de France Femmes, like I'm not a huge like Instagrammer or follow people, but I'm like, I'm going to follow Lotte Kopecky and I'm going to follow like Demi Vollering and I'm going to follow like these riders who have gone and done cool things. And then it's led on. So I'm like, Lotte Kopecky just posted up like what races she's doing at Worlds and how you can watch them. I'm like, I would never have usually watched track Worlds events, but you know what, I think I am going to tune in and have a look at that and see what's happening. And yeah, so it has created like an awesome little environment. So I'm a little bit gutted that's finished, but now I feel like my motivation to get out and race on the Zwift myself is higher because I've been watching being like, totally. This is so motivating, you know? You can only watch for so long before you get a bit excited, right? And you want to do it yourself. Like not at that level, obviously, but like in your own little level.
So 2 things. One on that also is one of the most popular ride events that I know of in not single events, but ride event types in the world is kind of like this follow along touring, but yet event thing that happens. And like you have these, what's the name of they even have like a nationals and a worlds for it or something now where you go and do a something. Dang it! Come on, Nathan.
Sportif?
Kind of like a sportif, but we have another name for it here, and somebody's gonna actually help me out. And I swear, someone's gonna be like, Nathan, duh, this is the name for it. Anyways, that type of thing, I feel like that's the vibe that we're getting around this of like this, the general population going and jumping into a similar type event to what the pros are doing. That's been a kind of cool thing that Zwift have been attempting for a really long time. I'm not sure it like has hit until this last couple of years, and now it feels like it's really hitting stride. And I do think it is because of how much participation in the in real life stuff we see Zwift having now too, that like you can really connect the dots a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like riding coattails of events, but actually we are involved in the event. You know what I mean? Because then it doesn't feel like, well, you're just kind of using that event and there's like an exchange of money branding thing going on. No, like we're actually involved and we're here and we're participating. And then it feels like a natural continuation that you're a part of then too.
Yeah, I think it was, I was listening to the Wheel Talk podcast with Abby Mickey, who we'd had on the show, and she was talking about this as well, and the fact that it hasn't been like hey, Zwift has just given a bunch of money to the ASO and said like, have a women's race. Like she said, like there is so much passion behind the scenes and really pushing these teams and the involvement with Canyon SRAM, the involvement with Alpecin de Koenig. Like it's pretty massive. And you look at Ashley Moolman-Passio's got a whole team on Zwift and is really, really vocal about her support of esport as a sort of pathway, but also as a way for people to keep cycling, you know, if they can't get on the roads as much. And so I guess it like a huge shout out to Kate from Zwift because like, wow, I think this year, like you sort of saw the ability for the Tour de France Femmes to sort of stand on its own 2 feet, right? And be its own unique event outside of just the men's event. Like, it seems to me like a little bit more like fun, like a bit more, I don't know, like wild and fun. It's kind of the
I
vibe
agree.
I got
Yeah,
from it.
I got that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got that too. The other thing I want to shout out about Kate, and my first interactions with Zwift were with Kate at the North American tour, and I was on the microphone with her, and one of the things that came through in what she said was always, it seemed to me that her perspective of people who are on the ground and with the people was really important to her. Like, that is such a value. Like, and she said this to me. She was like, "You're such a value to Zwift, Nathan." Like, because, and I'm not saying this for my own sake. I'm saying this because now she's doing the same thing. She's in it with them. She's in the team car. She's in team cars every day. Like, following along, going along, being in it with the peloton, being in it with influencers. I just saw a post. She was with Katie Burrell, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Who's like a comedian who does mountain biking that they brought in as like an outside person to check it out and do kind of funny memes about the whole thing. And it was great. Like, and I think that this is somebody who gets that, and is doing that, and seeing her presence there, I think is, and the feeling there is going to pull a lot of the reality of what's needed and what needs to be done to bring things up, instead of like ivory tower thinking that then just comes down and tries to implement ideas that might not fit with like what you can actually pull out of what the ideas are. You know what I mean? Pull out the ideas from those that are there, not come and bring them in and put them down. And all these comparisons get made to the men's side of things, and it's kind of like it's its own thing, and it's and being there and all that's going to learn what its own thing is, and even enhance what is successful about it.
Yeah. So like one observation I have, and then we'll move on to something else. But if I was thinking like, okay, I want to take my kids to Europe and go watch a Grand Tour, I think, to be honest, we would go watch the Tour de France Femmes. Now, one reason for that is because when I watch the men's race now, and I watch at the places I'd want to be, like I'd want to be on the Tourmalet, I'd want to be on those, iconic mountains. Like, I'm not going to lie, sometimes watching the men's one, and I've been there myself, like I've gone and watched these myself, but I was younger and it probably didn't bother me as much. But with kids, it makes a different sort of equation. It's a lot of people who are just wasted.
Yeah,
like,
it was a party. It's a big party. Huge
party. And it looks, I was like, man, do I really want my kids around that for like 4 or 5 hours while we're waiting for the riders to come through? Just this massive drunk men, right? And then I look at, like, to be fair, it's kind of like, it's pretty out.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, what the heck? That's so crazy. I did not do that on purpose at all. It was the gremlins were watching.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. So the point I was making was like, when I was in my 20s and going around and watching the tour, like the drunken party was like right up my alley. It was so much fun. Like, you stand there, you're just having a huge party. But now I'm a mom and I want to take my 3 kids and I want to like show them like a cool sporting event. I was like, I would go watch the women's one because I can have a party with them and show it's really cool, but in a space that seemed a lot more family orientated.
Totally.
Like,
you saw a lot of kids on the sidelines, actually. There were tons of families and kids, and there's probably a place, that there, and I agree, like, there's just a reality of what you're saying there, and like, whether it ought or not, whatever, but like, and like the other places that you could go, they would just fly by then. You know what I mean? In the men's, like it would just be like, well, there it was instead. But you get the best of both worlds then in the women's. It sounds like, where you don't have that huge, and it didn't look like there was that much of a craziness. And the other thing, oh my stress level was so much lower watching the fans. Because they weren't, there was so much more respect. Now, it might have been just because there wasn't quite as many.
Or they weren't as drunk.
Like, or they were, because it was like they weren't all just crowding in, like, wow. And like, I want to like shake those people, like to the point that the Tour de France this year put out a video about showing the interactions with racers where they get screwed over in their race because people don't know how to back off and give them some space and respect them.
they're like 1 centimeter away from knocking off the yellow jersey and ending the race. Like, it's going to happen because it's so, like, right in their face. And
Well,
I'm
I mean,
like,
it happened
"Jeez."
with Lance. It did happen with Lance where his
Yeah,
race
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
ended, but like he was on the ground, like because of somebody too close. Like, I mean, I felt horrible for Sepp. Like, come on,
Yeah.
why is he getting knocked off his bike? It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
like, and I saw them. Okay, I know I'm going off now, but like, I this is a huge one for me. I mean, I get angry at this one, and I'm like,
no.
like the police vehicles, they have 2 motorbikes behind that are honking behind the race. And I'm at the point that I'm like, put them in front of the race and just
Yeah.
like just snowplow them. Like, I'm sorry.
But then you saw what happened is they did that, and then one of the motorbikes bloody stalled and crashed.
Yeah. Well,
Like, because they can't literally hit someone, so they braked, stalled, and then oh my god. Anyway, okay, let's go. What's
Pedal
up
Pan
next?
says the fans can't control themselves anymore. More fence. It is just a more. It probably at this point, like, okay. So we went off there for a bit. There was all kinds. Now, one thing on Tour de France though too is Jonas Vingegaard is riding Zwift a lot all of a sudden, like a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they did that ride, and I think that there were some technical difficulties. He showed up like 30 minutes after or 15 minutes after it actually started. It was a little bit like, come on. Now, I usually I'd be like, really? Come on, you guys. There should have been someone there with him. And like, what happened? Like, what? Like, you know, like everyone's like, where's Jonas? Like, in the event, like I was there. And I was like, oh man, there's a ton of people here and Jonas isn't here. This is really awkward. But then I saw where he was, it looked like, when it was happening, and he was in a stadium, like it looked like Zwifting, with like an iPad in front of him, with like 1,000 people around for this live.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, there was other things going on. It would have been cool if maybe that was communicated across or something. You know what I mean? That there's other things going on, and he's also joining the ride, because that's what it looked like was happening with this. But then he rode on the 31st, the 29th, the 28th, the 25th, like boom, boom, boom. And he did the Tourmalet twice actually since then. Interesting enough. Yeah. So yeah, kind of crazy that Jonas is like full on
chilling on Zwift. And I actually started watching the Mark Cavendish documentary that's on Netflix. Is it Netflix? Yeah, Netflix at the moment. The Mark Cavendish story, and a lot of footage of him on his indoor trainer showing the screen of Zwift. So I don't know how much Zwift paid to have that in there, but he's obviously like on their Zwifting, right?
I think Mark
so
actually
cool.
likes Zwifting. The way he talks about it seems genuine to me. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I really think he does.
Great doco. Go watch that as a side note.
I haven't seen that.
But anyway, what should we go into next? Should we go into
let's do the Zwift Grand Prix. Let's do Zwift Grand Prix. Well, or Zwift Racing League.
Yeah, let's do that.
Grand Prix?
Well, yeah. So should we touch on Zwift Racing League for a short bit? That it's released. So the courses and the dates have been released. So dates have been released for all 3 rounds. Courses have been released for round 1. And we will obviously be having our friend Cy Bradley on to go through the courses in depth, as we always do. I feel a little bit like people are still in a bit of outdoor vibe. So we'll probably do that in like 2 weeks, maybe, where it's like a month to go. So teams have registered, they're all in, and it's like, okay, we're switching our focus now. Zwift Racing League.
One thing I do want to highlight is that the social post this year was different than in years past. It wasn't just to like Zwift Racing League, an image, and that's about it. Go register. They put out a full-on reel with a bunch of community members having a blast. Which tells me that there's like more of a push this year coming directly from Zwift around Zwift Racing League. Before it was like WTRL kind of on their like doing their thing, making everything happen. And I feel like Zwift is like really like that shows me an embracing of the community, highlighting the community, and like getting behind the community, getting involved and engaging them in their Zwift Racing League, which I think is really, really cool to see. And it was so cool to see like a bunch of the names that I know, both at all the way from the D to the Elite Grand Prix level, in that reel to show how connected the community is together around the Zwift Racing League. Super cool by Zwift to highlight that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, agree. That was very cool. I am getting Team Riot ready. I can't race. I'm having my operation on the 25th of August. Um, so I think I'm going to miss like the first 4 races of ZRL, but hopefully could do the last 2 in round 1. So that'd be good. But I will be streaming all my de-essing of the team. So
Oh, nice!
tune in.
Like on your
Yeah,
Twitch.
yeah. I'll stream the Twitch on Twitch and maybe YouTube is de-essing my team doing the first 4. But yeah, like our team's a little bit run ragged at the moment. We've got like
Yeah,
some who are just
isn't
like,
Grossman got hurt, right?
oh, like got hurt, like understatement, man. That's one of those crashes, right? Where it's like, geez, there's a lot of facial injuries, like broken a lot of stuff, scapula, collarbone, like just real tricky. And I think like she's a sprinter, right? And so you get in the drops, you've got a broken scapula and collarbone, like that's really impactful. So we'll see how she's going. We've got Claire Cameron coming back into form. Jen's been crushing it outdoors. And then, yeah, so I think we'll be all right. But we're not like a full esport focused team. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are doing some stuff outside. So yeah, my excitement is kind of like building though. I'm getting into it.
For my, I'm so focused on outdoor right now. I may jump in a couple of races on the first season. We're obviously gonna be streaming the Zwift Racing League, and doing commentary and all, following along in order to highlight everybody's racing. But on my own racing side, I'll jump in as I can. But like, there's some pretty big goals for me in September and October, so I'm kind of like, you can only focus one thing so much. It gets a little bit difficult. But since it is on, I believe it's still on Tuesdays. So since it is on Tuesday's still a good day to get some intensity. So I could use it for intensity and it wouldn't impact my weekend racing. So I think it's really smart that they've left it there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, I think those days are always good. I love it. Like, because it can be a training session. Yeah, I think it's great. That I would be very gutted if that changed. Now, Zwift Grand Prix. So I got sent from a lovely member of the community the Grand Prix document about what was coming. So some details released. What I do want to say is another great thing here, and I think harps to what you're saying about Zwift sort of taking the community stuff a bit more seriously and supporting it, is the rounds 2 and 3 of the Zwift Racing League will kind of be, the Grand Prix will be on the same courses. So the Grand Prix will be racing the course like the Friday before the next week. So then you can kind of tune in, watch the Grand Prix and be like, oh, that's the course. That's like how people are racing it. That's how the like pros are going to approach those bits. And then you'll be racing the course the next week. So I do quite like that tie up there.
Yeah, it looks like they're making something really similar. They're doing some of the Points Hunter, the Battle Royale is coming back that we saw from the Grand Prix. So those are the 2 other formats that are coming in. But then they're using the formats from the ZRL for a few other of the rounds. I think it's round 3, 4, and 5, maybe. I'm looking through here because it says ZRL round 2 scratch race. It says ZRL round 2 team time trial, and then team time trial, and then a points race as well. So they're using something similar to be able to go and watch what is going to be happening there. So yeah, cool that they're connecting the 2, keeping a connection between the Grand Prix top level and the rest of the community.
And that means that the Grand Prix riders can still go ride in the community, which is awesome because that makes it really fun. I kind of didn't like it when you had to pick one or the other. Like you couldn't do both. So this is really good. Also, sorry, I totally missed it. One of the best things that the ZRL's done, so kudos to Martin, is recalling maybe it's like 2 of the races in the round are just scratch races. So I remember like having on the podcast being like, oh my God, this was the best race ever. That one around Eastern 8, where it was purely a scratch race. It was just the finish line. Yeah, we've got a couple of those. So I'm really stoked about that because I do like the points, but sometimes I just like racing for the finish line.
Totally. And having tactics. And if you here's the thing is I think that there's so many different courses on Zwift that they are specific to like the elevation gains and the way that the course just races is going to either be better for points racing or better for scratch racing or better for team time trials. So now with having 2 of each, you can kind of pick out the right courses for the right kind of race format and have the most fun that you possibly can, instead of trying to kind of like force points racing maybe into a course or into like, and also you just, like you said, it just kind of gets like another points race. You kind of get this like, we're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. The differentiation throughout the weeks, it helps a ton. So nice job to Martin on that.
Because the biggest change I think that will do is, because when there's fastest through segment, there's like zero motivation to break away from the group. Because there's like, so you look at like Innsbruck Ring is like a good example maybe. So you've done the Innsbruck QOM, and if you've got a little bit of a gap, but there's a group behind you, the motivation is to slide back to the group, to sprint through the group, to then get fastest through segment at the sprint, which isn't that far away from the end of that downhill. If it's just a scratch race, you go through that, you got a little bit of a gap, you frickin' power to the line, right? Like, so I think it will just create that environment of, like a few more tactics instead of sort of playing it safe and going for like all the FTSs.
A lot more risk reward, more risk reward, big time for sure. So that's pretty exciting. Liking that. So, okay. So Zwift Grand Prix. Now there's some interesting stuff in here, that has come across. The first thing, and one of the things that we talked about a ton, is men's and women's teams for each round. That is a part of team requirements now to have men's and women's teams for each round.
Yeah. So this would explain why over the my winter, your summer, is we saw like Next come out with the women's team, BL13 come out with a women's team, is because there was sort of a suggestion of this requirement a while ago. Like, it's always kind of been in the background as like a, we would like this if you had a women's team. So you look at Saris, and when Saris was made, it had both. Like, it started, they had both. But now it's like an actual requirement. So to put in an application and get your team approved, you have to have a women's team. And it doesn't always have to, it doesn't have to be like Next men and Next women. So say you could have, I don't know, give me a men's team, a team that does, I don't know. Hexagon. So you could have like,
I think they have a women's team now too. So, but
okay. Well, I'm trying to think like a men's team, and then they could pair with like Team Fearless, who only have women. So that's only a women's team, and I would doubt that ever open up Fearless to be a men's community as well. It's a pure women's cycling community.
The language was like they can create alliances with these teams in order to, but they have to have a single identity, but then like there's an alliance underneath that identity of 2 teams, and they can even use their in-game kits actually still, it sounds like. That they've built up through the community. Because I think that's a big point, is like these teams have been developing throughout the community. We want to make sure that we can keep their identity as it was in some sort of a way, rather than like have it be swallowed up. Because the reality right now is that it seems like there is more men's teams, and this is why they're trying to create more women's teams alongside of the brands that are the men's teams, in order to highlight the top level of women's racing. One of my things here is just a caution that I would have is, and this is, we saw a lot of media around this with the NCL in America recently, is that when you create a shared destiny between 2 separate entities that have 2 different racing spaces, it can get messy. There can be like, do we want to share destiny with a men's team versus a women's team, or do we want to just go on our own? And can women's highlight women's racing just for what it is, that is freaking amazing and awesome all on its own, and it can develop out of the community? And also, are those community teams like I like the alliance thing, and that kind of solves this problem a little bit, that like go find awesome community teams that are out there and ally with them in order to bring them into the top level. That's a really good answer, because up front, before I saw the alliance thing, I was like, you can't force this. That's it. And now when you're trying to create shared destinies, and so like you just, that shared destiny thing on accomplishment, it gets a little murky, and there's a lot of details that can get worked out in the very complex space of team organization, of sponsorship, of finding like your niche of what you're serving. And I know that there's women's teams that just walked away from the NCL up front and said, look, this is a really cool idea, but the way that you're organizing this, that we have this like shared pool in this way, it's just not going to work for us from a business standpoint. That long term.
So I think if you looked at it, like if they'd said you have to be the same team name and you have to be the same team, I think that would be really tricky, because there's a lot of women's only teams out on Zwift. I'll just say Fearless because that's, you know, close to my heart, that they'd be out, because they'd be like, well, our brand, our whole thing is it's a women's team. So like, I can't do that. Where I see this is like quite interesting is you've got NZ Bro and you've got Team Aero. Now, NZ Bro and Aero have not, Aero might have had a women's team in, but they weren't like, I often saw they'd only have like 2 or 3 riders. Like they were really struggling. Now they're thinking about joining forces so that they can have a complete women's complement. So I kind of see a bit of a benefit there. The shared destinies thing, now ask me about that halfway through Grand Prix. So if if the Saris men's team underperforms, or 1 week is like, oh my gosh, we can't field a team or something, I will probably not love the fact that our positioning on the tally has been impacted by something out of my control. So ask me that during the series as to whether it's good or not. Now, one thing that would be interesting.
That's so anecdotal, though. Like, we need to work from root principles, like, and not just have anecdotal if it's working out for me.
I was just giving it to like.
I know,
lighthearted,
I get it.
But one part, you know, as I was thinking about this when you were talking about it, is I think this first series, like, you might see a bit of teething with this, because one example I'll give is, sorry, it might be anecdotal, Nathan, but like Next, right? So Next men's, so it started as a men's team, is very well established and very successful. Now they've decided to create a women's team, and we had Liz on the show talking about developing this women's team. Now, if you listen back to the podcast, you know, she was quite clear that it was a developing team, right? Like, she's not going to be able to create an instant team success like within a few months. So, you know, she's the spearhead, so she's amazing. So she'll be great. But I mean, she's having to recruit and find riders, and a lot of the top riders are already on teams. And so, you know, she said it's a developing team so now you have a situation where you've got elite men's well-established successful team, women's team just started and developing. So yes, that shared destiny is going to be tricky in this first season, because they're on 2 total different levels, right? So that, I think, hopefully, if they look at this and then it happens again, is it will have brought up the women's team, and then they're an equal sort of successful team, right?
Totally,
and that's where I see the sort of the benefit to that side.
100%. Yeah, mixing a lot of things into one pot real quickly is one thing where I'm like, whoa, but okay. And like, I liked what you said there. There might be a little bit of teething up front, and I think teething's the right word, right? Like, I do think that like growth and getting toward maturity, I think that is something that could happen with these models. There's a lot of things mixing together with both having co-ed. I mean, having like the co-ed competition where, and for those that don't know, like in the document, it talks about like there's going to be co-ed competition where they compete, and then the end results are, it sounds like, I might be wrong about this, and there will be more clarification coming about all of this, but the initial document seems that the destiny of results is together with the with the teams. And so there's that co-ed part, but then there's also another part that's happening at the same time where there's a development of a women's team and a men's team. And like, I wonder if like, well, maybe just do the one first and then maybe start mixing
Yeah.
the co-ed later, you know what I mean, or whatever, because like then you can find out how well it'll work. But at the same time, it might be totally awesome. Like watching what happened at the Olympic event, I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool. That was really fun to watch, actually, between
Yeah.
with that side, that part of it specifically, that they had co-ed competition was pretty awesome. That also, though, was like green team and red team and blue team. It was, and they were all thrown together and they were part of like, I'm a part of the Olympics, cool event. All right. Whereas it wasn't like long-standing culture. And the reality is, I got to say this part. Next is a bunch of dudes like who really enjoyed racing together, who then made a team and made a brand out of it over a long period of time. And they were just buddies who liked racing. And like the women's teams on the side, that Fearless, Revo, a bunch of ladies who Aeonian, they just enjoy doing something awesome together. And like, you can't really force that. You know what I mean?
No.
Like that part.
And on the part I do like about this is that from what I can see, it's totally separate races. Like they'll be at different times. They're separate, right? So you'd have like format points hunter on a Thursday. It's a men's race and then a women's race. Because to that exact point, I like my Discord to be with, and no offense to Matt and the men's team because they're awesome, but like I like my women's Discord to be just my women's Discord because like I might jump on and be like, ladies, I got my period today. I'm not feeling great. And I want that safe space to jump on
that and like be like, whatever.
Oh, I don't want this. Like, geez. And then I'm like, so I still want my nice little women's crew to be able to come on and we just talk and, shoot the shit and say what we want.
That's the other thing I gotta bring that up too, is like you talked about culture, and culture is a very complicated thing that has like, it grows like plants in a garden. There's a lot of things going on in a garden. Like there's a lot of like little, and within women culture, there's a whole stuff that goes on within your very specific space, like that has its own stuff and vibe, and men's as well. And I don't know, like, okay, well, and it works sometimes. You brought up in pre-production that Super League has done the co-ed thing well. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other spaces where that has gone really well, besides maybe like game shows and stuff like that. So like, I don't know. We'll see. If there's another sport out there that's done that well, like let me know. I'd love to know. In the esports space, whenever it was tried, it didn't go real well, but that might be that the esports space needs a little bit more women's representation anyways. So so okay, that's the whole co-ed thing. Besides for that though, we're looking out at October actually. So it's a little ways out actually before we got ZRL's going to be happening and really already like kicking off. And then it's like almost like a look forward to Grand Prix, like Grand Prix's coming. I kind of like that we can hype up an indoor season and not have the just all of a sudden Grand Prix is here.
Yeah, so it looks like 7 rounds, starts October, finishes mid-Jan, which would be about the time you'd start all the continental qualifiers or get ready for Worlds. So yeah, I think, looks pretty good to me. And I have seen, which is awesome because as a racer, and I'm sure as a broadcaster, it was really hard to like pad the time. It's not going to be those kind of formats where like literally you're on the bike for like 3 hours and riding for like 20 minutes. So a bit more condensed. I saw it was like
an hour 15, the longest you could go for it, and then 50 minutes on like the scratch race days or something. It sounded way better for the athletes and for the broadcast. So I think they're doing that was really smart with the feedback. One other thing, I just want to give the milestone dates out here for all those who are interested. I know a lot of people who listen to the podcast and a lot of people who listen live and hang out and watch all of this want to know these dates. So these are the dates that are out there. July 31st, information went out to the team managers. August 8th, there will be clarification questions deadline. So if you have questions and you want clarification about what's going on with the Zwift Grand Prix and you're interested in it, you can send that to race@zwift.com. So by August 8th, around all this information. And then by August 11th, written answers to clarify questions supplied to all the applicants, application forms, and then the application form will actually be distributed on August 11th. So don't worry if you're looking to get into Zwift Grand Prix and you've got a team and you want to get involved in this, but I liked also that Zwift is giving some ownership to the teams to say, hey, you're a part of this with us. Go for this. It's an undertaking to run a top level Grand Prix elite team. So if you want to be a part of it, they're going to open that up for applications on August 11th. The deadline then is August 25th to submit responses. And then on or around September 8th, you'll get an announcement of the teams and teams to sign participation agreements. And then from there, the first race is October 19th. So that's kind of the schedule or the calendar we're looking forward to that the teams just got in the last week, actually, that the teams that have shown interest have been a part of the surveys to try and grow this whole thing. They've got this information. We're getting it out there now, too, so that people who are in the community that do have an interest in top-level elite racing can also get involved if they want to.
Yeah, sorry, you've gone a little bit like, I think my connection's gone a bit weird. You've gone all computer. You've gone computer voice on me.
I went computer voice. Is that also going computer voice?
I don't know.
Is it still happening right now?
No, I don't know. I think that was me. I refreshed anyway, but I heard what you're saying. So
and
yeah,
when
I think
you refreshed, did it actually like fix?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I might have.
Boy.
Oh no.
I don't know if that's you. I hope we're good. I hope we're good to everybody listening. Let us know if you have any issues.
No, I think I can see it. I can see on like the YouTube and stuff. It looks fine. So I think it's just me. Anyway, there we go. So do we want to talk about the Should we go is the game released?
Yes. So game release 1.45. They had a little bit of a hold up there. If you did get an email from Zwift Insider, it was held back just a little bit. The main thing that's been released that should be rolling out right now, if you go ahead and open up your Zwift, you most likely will be getting an update. They are doing kind of a slow rollout with this one. But the Climb portal now has achievement badges that will be awarded to Zwifters who complete any combination of 1, 10, and 25 climbs. So any combination of the climbs, too. It's just whether or not you do a portal climb 1, 10, or 25 times. So there's a badge for each one of them. If you already completed one of these achievements, you will be retroactively granted the achievement, which you can view in your badges screen. So when I update my Zwift, it looks like since I've done one climb at least, I don't think I've done 10 portal climbs, I should get a badge. And it's interesting because I think this is going to motivate people to go and do the portals more now, too, in these next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah. I definitely want to go get that 25 badge, whatever they'd call it.
I wonder what it's called. I wonder if it's like masochists in some sort of way too. Like that was the Alp de Zwift one.
I actually still need to get that badge. I think I'm like 4 cents of Alp de Zwift away. So one thing I noticed was there was quite a few bug fixes for the Zwift plays. Now I had a crazy thing happen, and I didn't have it on video, but maybe something's been fixed now, so I'll have to see if it happens again. I was in a group ride. I had my plays paired up, so I had steering. When I activated the draft power up, my avatar would just randomly go out to the middle of the road.
Really?
Yeah, and I'd steer it back in, let go of steering, back out into the middle of the road. Soon as the draft power up.
Only with the draft power up.
As soon as the draft power up stopped, it wouldn't do that anymore. So I was like, that's so weird. What is going on? So I don't know if that's been fixed.
So there is a fixed an issue with intermittent swerves when cycling with a steering device, but that sounds really specific though. Like that sounds more specific than just the swerving that might be happening.
Like it was swerving, but it only started to happen when I activated the draft power up.
Did you try other power ups too?
No, I'll give it a try with another one and see if it happens anymore. But I was just like, what is going on? And I was like, damn, I should video this, but never got around to it. So yeah, anyway, did notice that happening. So maybe this has fixed it. So that'll be good. But my plays have been a whole ton of fun. So I've been enjoying those. That's
One other thing, there is a Climb Portal free ride schedule now. Now that the Tour de France is over, the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift will be coming to close shortly. This is a part of the release. So moving to exclusively free ride schedule for Climb Portal. So you will find climbs that are available for 2 weeks at a time. So throughout August, we've got Col de, how do you say this one? Platzer Wassel. I'm not saying that right at all. Not even close. Crow Road, and then it looks like Pilat Ba. I can't. These names for these climbs are so difficult.
I wonder if they'll pull in any climbs for the Vuelta. That'd be interesting.
It would be.
Go join up. Yeah. I think that's going to be quite cool. I mean, nothing in the, and then there was a whole lot of the Chasing Rainbow World Champs events I saw, but it looks as though, I mean, they're already up on my home screen because I registered for them. Although the jersey for me and the gloves haven't unlocked yet. So I think this update will hopefully see them appear in my garage because I don't have
Most
them.
likely. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Yeah.
I'd be super surprised if it didn't. The one more thing, you can head on over to Zwift.com and find a Zwift Climb Portal page now, and you can see the schedule actually for the Climb Portals over there, and it may be in game as well.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Well, World Championship.
Not like not a death-defying update, I'd say. Just kind of
just the badges. They've got the Race the Worlds this month, so a bunch of races that are going on. They've got the Ride Series, so there's a whole bunch of stuff going along with Worlds, which is super awesome. Like we'd said earlier in the podcast, the idea of going along with the community. But on that front, we could go head right on into your jersey pick for the week, actually.
Yes.
Because this is exactly down that same road. If it actually loaded in here for us, I'm going to have to grab it here because I think our little hiccup
gremlin
there, the little gremlin that made us come offline also deleted the pick here, but I think I got it now. Yeah, here we go. So let's take a quick look here at Chasing Rainbow Worlds Unlock is the pick of the week. What do you think about this? I feel like I don't sense like a
I don't see a rainbow.
Yeah, that's the thing is I like the look of it, but I don't get the UCI vibe or anything or the Worlds vibe from it.
So I don't know what the deal is here because I think so I was a little bit confused because I hadn't really looked at the kit and then I was in the ride. I was like, am I in the right jersey? So I don't kind of get it. If I looked at this, I would never go, oh my God, that's to celebrate the world champs. I know that there must be some, they can't use the UCI rainbow jersey. I bet there's a thing, right? You can't have that because obviously we've got UCI eSport world champs. So they would be the ones who can use that jersey, not just all of us, the community. But yeah, there's just, for me, what this just looks at, it looks so much like the sort of Makuri Islands kit unlock. Just a kit you get for riding in a world. But we've already got the Scottish kit. We've got the tartan kit. So I kind of just don't know what this is. Maybe someone who knows Glasgow, maybe this is the specific kit that they're selling to celebrate Worlds, and then that would make sense. But yeah, I'm not going to give this a high score.
That might be something along those lines. There's got to be some sort of relationship. It just in the limited edition UCI Cycling World Championship kit. That's all I'm really seeing here on the information for it. So it's a theme. It's got a theme to it. So yeah.
I'm going to give it a 3.
Oh boy.
I mean,
okay,
so this
there's bands on the okay, hold on a second. Let me just get this.
I don't think there's bands on. I think that's just the colors from the jersey on the shorts.
Really?
Yeah, so I wasn't super impressed. So here's my little gripe as well, is you'll see there I'm on a TT bike. So the ride, everyone was on TT bikes. And so in the pen, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll just individually time trial around this course. But then yeah, see the bits. Oh, there. Okay, so there's something.
So there is something on the left sleeve. I had to point out there are at least those rainbow bands right there. But then maybe they don't want that because whenever there's bands anywhere, you assume that somebody won a it is a touchy
Yeah.
subject because, like, did this person actually win a championship? You know what I mean? So there is a little bit of touchiness to it. There is.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I'm not really that into it.
Well, it's on the end of the shorts too. There is one on the left hand,
Yeah,
on
I
the left
just saw
short.
that.
Yeah.
And I see that from Z Kreider, whose YouTube image is a Rainbow Bands jersey. So obviously he knows his stuff. Yeah, so I'd give it a 3. And also, yeah, so the ride you did, everyone was on TT bikes, but then drafting was enabled. So like within like 5 minutes of the ride, I was like, oh, okay, we're drafting, but it's TT bikes. It was just a little bit confusing. Everyone was like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know why we're on TT bikes. But anyway, there we go. Sorry.
Wait, you were on TT bikes in a ride, in just a regular ride with drafting on?
So we were all forced on TT bikes. So everyone's on TT bikes, but draft was on. So it's like a group ride, but on TT bikes. So I'm not quite sure.
They're just trying to get it done like really fast. It was like, you're going to be really,
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, sweet.
Is the first day a time trial in Worlds or something? I don't know. Like, there's got to be something.
Maybe.
Well, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I guess what they're doing is it's a super worlds, right? So I guess probably they'll have these group rides on TT bikes, mountain bikes, and roadies, I'm guessing. And then it'll be like, this is celebrating like every event. So that's cool. Yeah, I guess
hope that there's
cool.
like that there's like some on the ground relation to, you know, we have the Glasgow World, we've got the courses, and then being able to relate to some of the things that are going on. I personally would have liked to see, like, in the same way that you've got somebody, this is a major undertaking, but like somebody on the ground who knows each one of the disciplines and then somehow is trying to incorporate that into the rides or whatever, the day, like alongside the days or whatever, so that you can kind of follow along. You know, I mean, that's essentially.
So I've seen Lotta Kopecky has her own clothing line, and I was like, damn, that would be a really cool kit unlock. If it was just like, I'm such a fangirl now. And I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. Like she's doing her track race and like you could ride around and watch at the same time. And then you get like a kit unlock of like a Lotta Kopecky kit. Oh, it'd be so cool. But yeah, I have to say,
Tour is doing a world championships, like chasing tour ride along. Yeah. Like race. Okay. Well, it's a race. And you can win, and it's a single day race. It's on it's this Saturday actually, and it's 12 p.m. UTC, so it's an early one for the USA. But it is definitely something you can go check out. There was so they did put some stuff out on their website. They also put out an email as well. So check out what Chasing Tour is doing to go and ride along with the world. It's pretty cool that they're up to that as well, and that's to go alongside of the men's race, I'm assuming, because the women's race is 1 week later.
A week later, yeah. Yep. So should we do a quick pick me your men's winner and your women's winner?
I'm just honest, I haven't even thought about, like, I think, okay, so,
Okay, I'll give mine while you think.
Initially Remco is rested and ready to go. Yeah. He's just rested and ready to go. I think, he's going to repeat it.
Okay. Women's?
Well, come on. Like, well, I didn't look at the course. I need to look at the course, actually. I don't know the course.
It's like a punchy one-day classics kind of a thing. Could be a bit of rain.
Kopecky.
Okay, I see. I'm going Kopecky women. And like my head says Remco, but my heart is Wout van Aert. So I'll go Wout van Aert for men.
Ooh. He's also, he went home. Now, is he getting enough sleep? And how much can he focus on the bike right now? I mean, there's a new baby in the house. You know, now sometimes that can go one way or the other. So
yep.
We'll see what.
I think he'll be good. But yeah, okay, so it'll be good. And I'm quite excited for the mountain bikes. I'm a big Puck Peters fan, so I'm going to check out the women's mountain biking as well.
You're all about Puck now, hey? Okay.
And I've been about her since she started on the cyclocross and was bunny hopping at the cyclocross and doing wheelies over the finish line. I was like, this chick is rad.
Questions to be up front. I was like, is this for real? Is this like she did really well a couple of times? And then all of a sudden she just started riding away from everybody every race. And I'm like, wow, she's a phenom. She is a phenom. So, but watch out. Okay, one thing I want to say on the mountain bike side of things for Worlds, and maybe we'll talk more next week a little bit more about actual World Champion, how they're going, the mountain bike especially. I'm really interested. But Yolanda Neff, I don't know if you noticed, but this is a woman who all of a sudden shows up and wins Olympic or wins things like out of nowhere. Where did she come from? And if you haven't been watching 20s, 15s, 10, I think she's right on I want this. I think she's on a trajectory. I'm not, maybe not a win, but I'm predicting a podium for Yolanda Neff. I'm predicting podium.
Okay, so I really like Yolanda Neff, and this is down such a rabbit hole. So let's hopefully keep the answer short. But her riding style is so different to everyone else's. Like her position on the bike, she just looks like it's really kind of upright.
She's a free ride
what's
type.
What's the deal there?
She's super free ride type. Yeah. Like she likes to be able to handle the bike really well, and like and also like her pedaling style is not as not her pedaling style, but the way she's set up on the bike makes it so that, and I ride like this sometimes too, and I tend to be a little bit more like her. I've gone more aggressive recently where you're more bent over in a TT position and producing power from a push down instead of a push down in front of you. So like she has more of like when you do a step up in the gym, her pedaling feels a little bit closer to a step up in the gym. And sometimes you actually get more power out of that, especially when you climb a lot. So that might be what's going on there with her. So
okay. I just noticed that with her because you look at, say, Puck is quite over and like, that more aero-y over the front. And then like Yolanda's like, woohoo, like town biking it up. I'm like, it must work for her. But man, that looks so different.
It does. It definitely does for sure. So on the Kopecky thing, really it's because she looks really hungry, and I think that she just wants to win. Like, I think she just wants to win. And like, I think even at the end of the tour this year, like she was holding on. She was holding on as best as, and I don't want to lose this jersey. Like, even though we're riding for Demi, there was kind of a little bit of a split, I think, of like, I want this jersey. And even the commentary was like wondering if she was going to hold on to it at times too. Yeah.
And the only reason I'm not saying Demi Vollering, who I think is obviously stronger than Kopecky, is one, the course, so it's a lot more punchy. But two is that all of the Belgium women's team will be riding for Kopecky. She is the clear leader. Whereas the Team Netherlands, like Demi Vollering and Annemiek van Vleuten, are not friends. And they will be both going for the win. So how do you run a team on that? Like, I just don't see that cohesively working. And it would actually require, I think, Demi to just literally shadow Kopecky the whole race and be on her the whole time. I mean, they'd know each other so well. And so I honestly think if this is how it ended, it would be amazing. I think it'll end up like a Strade Bianchi where Kopecky and Demi are literally going for the line, but they're not teammates this time.
Yep, totally. Yeah. I agree. The question is, what is the finish like then? Then the question is, what is the finish? I haven't looked at the finish.
I have to look at that.
And if it is a little more uphill, I think Demi will get it, and Kopecky may not. So we'll see that.
Yeah.
I haven't looked.
It'll be fireworks.
It will be
real good.
It'll be big fireworks. I love it that we're really focused more on the women's here about the world as well than we are. It's like it's because we just came off of the Tour de France Femmes, so it's like on our mind.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
Also,
we just watched it.
I have a really bad feeling with the men's that it could end up like last year where Remco just breaks away and rides to the finish solo.
Really?
Yeah. I just think like I said, my head pick is with Remco because I think he's fresher. He's a breakaway specialist and he did that last year. And it's a really kind of boring way to finish the race because for the last 10 minutes, you're like, cool. So that's why I'm kind of a bit more jazzed about the women's because I actually think it'd be really tight.
Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And how many ways can you say that this is an amazing scene of a person riding a bike solo, like over and over and over again? Yeah, I know. We've been there.
Yeah.
We've both done it. Like it's definitely like I love cycling. Cycling's amazing. I love commentating on it. Sometimes you get in a position where you're like, Are they going to show a castle again?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. So anyway, there we go.
So I'm loving. Thanks a lot, Z. We do see all the comments coming in. Well, that's it for this week. We have gotten a lot of viewers coming in that we haven't seen in a while. So appreciate all the viewers that are coming in live. This has been a live show. If you're listening on the podcast afterwards, thanks a lot for tuning in on that. But you can catch us live around 1 p.m. CST every Thursday. We've been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This will be uploaded to ZwiftCommunityLive.com's website, where you can find the podcast shortly after this, as well as everywhere that you do download your podcast. We'll be back next week for episode number 56. This weekend, I'm actually racing. What we're up to for the next couple of weeks. Real quickly, I'm racing for the next 4 weekends in a row. Refo, Rambo, Wars, Ore to Shore, big prize money race up in northern Michigan. Then 2 more Roars races each week after that. So it's going to be like nonstop racing actually for the next 4 weeks for me. What, you're still doing the NZ Tri thing?
I've got yep, and then I've got National Duathlon Champs next weekend, but we'll have a podcast before that. Gravel riding this weekend, super sunny, cold, really cold, but I've got all my new kit, so I think that'll be good. And yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
Right I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and make sure to hit those likes, follows, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Comment. It does help us out a ton, and we will see you next week for episode number 56. From Anna and I, as always, thanks a lot for tuning in, and ride on.